Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Today, we're going to explore the fascinating connection between our personality traits and how we handle anger.
Okay.
We'll be looking at different personality types, those coping mechanisms we develop, and especially how those impact how we deal with anger.
Yeah, it's like a hidden script we develop early on.
Yeah.
It influences how we react in conflict.
Exactly, like we have default settings.
Yeah.
But imagine like understanding your own tendencies
Right.
and the tendencies of people around you.
Absolutely.
Like that's our goal today.
Yeah.
To help you identify those patterns and ultimately to find healthier ways of managing anger.
Recognizing those tendencies is often the first step towards change.
Totally. Okay, let's dive into these coping mechanisms.
Okay.
We've got those who move towards others,
Okay.
the people pleasers.
Right.
They really crave approval, fear rejection, and often struggle with anxiety.
Yep.
And I can see how that could easily lead to anger when things don't go their way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That anxiety can build up like a pressure cooker.
Right.
And when those needs for approval aren't met or boundaries are crossed,
Right.
anger can erupt.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Then we have the move against types.
Okay.
The rebels, always needing to be in control.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing that comes from a fear of feeling helpless or vulnerable.
Precisely.
Okay.
That underlying fear can trigger anger as a defense mechanism when they
Right.
feel threatened. It's like a preemptive strike
Oh,
to avoid being hurt
to avoid being hurt.
or losing control.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, and lastly, we have the move away folks.
Okay.
The recluses who value their independence.
Yeah.
They often come across as perfectionistic and
Yeah.
tend to distance themselves from others.
Right.
I imagine that's a way to protect themselves from getting hurt.
Exactly. But often their anger simmers beneath the surface,
Oh,
potentially manifesting as resentment
right.
or passive aggression.
Wow.
Yep.
So much complexity.
Lots of different ways to cope.
Do you think childhood experiences play a role in shaping which coping mechanism we gravitate toward?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Think of a child who's constantly criticized. They might become a people pleaser, always seeking approval.
Right.
Or a child who learns that acting out is the only way to get attention.
Right.
They might become more rebellious. It's like
Amen.
adapting to their environment.
Yeah.
What stands out to you about your own childhood?
That's a great question for our listener to ponder.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about how our early experiences
Yeah.
can shape our responses to anger
Absolutely.
later in life.
For sure.
So how do these coping mechanisms actually play out when anger enters the picture?
Well, we often see three main responses to anger.
Okay.
There are the exploders,
Okay.
who lash out with yelling or outbursts.
Yelling outbursts, yeah.
Then there are the passive-aggressive types,
Okay.
who express anger indirectly,
Right.
maybe through sulking.
Sarcasm or even procrastination.
Okay.
And finally, there are the stuffers
Right.
who bottle up their anger,
Yeah.
often leading to resentment
Uh-huh.
and potentially even health issues down the road.
Wow, that's so relatable.
I bet.
I remember a friend in college who was a classic exploder.
Oh, really?
It created a lot of tension in our friend group
Yeah.
because you never knew when he might erupt.
Oh, yeah.
Have you encountered similar examples in your work?
Oh, many times.
Really?
I had one client, a CEO,
Oh,
who was incredibly successful,
okay.
but had a legendary temper. He'd
Uh-huh.
yell, slam doors, berate employees.
Oh my God.
It created a really toxic work environment.
Wow.
One particular board meeting.
Hold on.
Oh,
Let's save that juicy story for part 2.
right.
We wouldn't want to spoil all the good stuff.
We'll keep them on the edge of their seats.
But before we go, dear listener, I want to ask you, which of these anger types do you identify with the most?
Good question. And while you're at it, think about the people in your life. Where do they fall on this spectrum?
Yeah,
It's like a real-life personality puzzle.
it is.
Yeah.
It was quite a scene during this board meeting.
Oh, yeah.
He lost his cool over a minor disagreement
Oh, wow.
and ended up alienating several key investors.
Oh, my gosh. Talk about a real-world consequence of unchecked anger.
Yeah,
It's not just about being nice. It's about recognizing the ripple effect
right.
that our anger can have on our relationships, our work, and
Oh.
even our health.
Precisely, that situation was a real wake-up call for him.
Yeah.
He realized his anger wasn't just hurting others,
Right.
it was sabotaging his own success.
Wow.
So this begs the question,
Yeah.
is all anger bad?
Right? is there a healthy way to deal with it?
Wow.
I think we'd all love to know the answer to that.
There's a concept called incidental anger.
Okay.
Where anger is acknowledged, addressed appropriately,
Okay.
and then let go.
Okay.
It's not about denying or suppressing the emotion,
Right.
but responding constructively.
So it's like a wave.
Yeah.
You ride it out, but don't let it drown you.
Exactly.
You acknowledge it's there, but you don't let it take over.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
You know, even in Scripture,
Uh-huh.
Exodus 34:6
Okay.
describes God as slow to anger.
Oh, wow.
It's a powerful reminder that it's not the emotion itself,
Yeah.
but our response to it that matters.
That's a really insightful point.
Yeah.
So how can we become more more slow to anger?
Yeah.
How can we shift from that knee-jerk reaction
Yeah.
to a more thoughtful response?
A lot of it comes down to our mindset.
Okay.
Remember we talked about those aloof and rigid personality types?
Right. The go with the flow versus the my way or the highway folks.
Exactly. Aloof people are flexible,
Yeah.
less likely to be triggered.
Uh-huh.
Rigid folks have inflexible thinking, high expectations.
Right.
They tend to get angered more easily.
Okay.
And interestingly, our upbringing and past experiences contribute to these mindsets.
So someone who grew up in a chaotic environment
Yeah.
where anger was explosive
Yeah.
might be more prone to react similarly.
Right.
Or if someone experienced a lot of criticism or control,
Uh-huh.
they might develop a more rigid mindset as a defense mechanism,
It's a chain reaction.
like a chain reaction. But what about those of us who recognize those unhealthy patterns
Right.
and want to break free? What can we do to manage anger in the heat of the moment?
There are actually several practical tools we can use.
Okay.
One powerful tool is memory verses.
Oh, I love that.
Scripture can be incredibly helpful in shifting our perspective.
It's like having a toolbox of wisdom to draw from.
Exactly. For instance, Proverbs 29:11
Okay.
reminds us, "A fool gives full vent to his anger, but a wise man keeps himself under control."
So it's really about recognizing that we have a choice in how we respond.
Yes,
We don't have to be ruled by our emotions.
exactly. And there's Proverbs 19:11.
Okay.
Good sense makes one slow to anger, and it is his glory to overlook an offense. Holding on to anger only hurts us in the long run.
That makes a lot of sense. Any other verses that you find particularly helpful?
Absolutely. Ecclesiastes 7:9 says, "Be not quick in your spirit to become angry, for anger lodges in the bosom of fools." And it's a
Okay.
good reminder to pause and consider our response before reacting.
Ouch. That one hits close to home for sure.
Yeah.
What about when we're in a situation where someone else is angry?
Oh, yeah.
Are there any verses that can help us navigate those situations?
Definitely Proverbs 15:18 says, "A hot-tempered man stirs up strife, but he who is slow to anger quiets contention."
Okay.
Being slow to anger can help de-escalate conflict and lead to a more peaceful resolution.
It's amazing how these ancient proverbs still hold so much wisdom for us today.
They do.
Are there any others that come to mind?
Of course, Proverbs 14:29, "Whoever is slow to anger has great understanding, but he who has a hasty temper exalts folly."
Okay.
It highlights the wisdom in taking that pause before reacting.
So much wisdom packed into those few words. Are there any more you'd like to share?
Just one more, Proverbs 15:1.
Okay.
"A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger."
Oh, yeah.
It reminds us that our words have incredible power.
Right.
They can either escalate or de-escalate a situation.
So true. It's like choosing to throw gasoline on a fire versus dousing it with water.
Exactly.
Memory verses are such a powerful tool.
They are.
But what about in those moments when anger feels overwhelming
Right.
and we need more immediate relief?
Yeah.
What else can we do?
Breathing techniques can be incredibly effective in calming the nervous system.
Okay.
Even something as simple as inhaling for a count of 7
Okay.
and exhaling for a count of 11 can make a difference.
That longer exhale. I
Exactly.
bet that's key.
There's also box breathing,
Yeah.
where you inhale, hold, exhale, and hold
Okay.
for equal counts, maybe 4 seconds each.
Right.
And if all else fails, just taking 3 deep breaths before responding can create space for a more thoughtful reaction.
I love how accessible these techniques are. Anyone can do them anytime, anywhere.
Exactly. And once you've calmed your nervous system a bit,
Uh-huh.
we can move on to some behavioral techniques,
Okay.
which can be incredibly helpful in managing those tricky situations that tend to trigger us.
Okay. I think we're all ready for those. But for that, you'll have to join us for part 3. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been talking about the connection between personality coping mechanisms and anger, and how our past experiences can really shape our responses. We even touched on some powerful tools like memory verses and breathing techniques to help manage those heated moments.
Right, and now we can delve into some behavioral techniques that can help navigate those situations that tend to trigger us.
Okay, let's hear them. I'm all ears.
One helpful technique is developing canned responses for common triggers.
Oh.
So if you know certain topics or situations always set you off,
Right.
have a neutral phrase ready to go.
Oh, see.
For example, you might say, I appreciate you sharing your perspective, but I'd prefer not to discuss politics right now.
That's a great idea. It sets a clear boundary without being confrontational.
Exactly.
So it's like having a pre-planned exit strategy for
Yeah.
those potentially explosive conversations.
Exactly. It helps you stay in control of your emotions and the situation.
Right.
Another technique is the broken record.
Yeah.
Calmly repeating the same refusal if someone keeps pressing you on a triggering topic.
So it's like a gentle but firm, nope, not engaging.
Precisely.
Kind of like setting those boundaries we talked
Yeah.
about earlier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And finally, having some de-escalation statements in your back pocket can be invaluable.
Okay.
Phrases like, I need a timeout, or let's agree to disagree, can gracefully help you exit a heated discussion.
I love how practical and empowering these techniques are.
Me too.
It's like taking back control of those situations that used to feel so overwhelming.
It really is. Remember, managing anger isn't about suppressing it completely.
Right.
It's about responding in a healthy and constructive way.
That's such an important point. So we've explored the link between personality traits, coping mechanisms, and anger responses, and we've even uncovered some practical tools to manage those fiery emotions. What stands out to you from our deep dives today?
For me, it's the power of understanding our own patterns and how they developed.
Yeah.
Once we have that awareness, we can start to make conscious choices about how we respond to anger.
It's so true. As you go about your day, I encourage you to observe the people in your life.
Right.
Which types do they seem to lean towards?
Yeah, good question.
It's like a real-life personality puzzle. And understanding those patterns can help you navigate relationships more effectively.
Absolutely. It's all about building empathy and understanding.
And here's a final thought for you to ponder.
Mm.
Could understanding these different types help us navigate conflict more effectively? Not just manage our own anger, but understand where others are coming from.
What a powerful question to reflect on. It really challenges us to move beyond ourselves and consider the perspectives of others.
Exactly. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into the fascinating world of personality and anger. Try out some of these tips this week and see what shifts. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep